to step out of my comfort zone, and I said, why not doing an internship?
Hi everyone, I'm Daniele Cosentino, CEO at AIP. Today I'm joined by two AIP alumni with incredible stories, Sebastian from Ecuador and Jacopo from Italy. Sebastian came to Thailand for a short family visit, but that turned into a 9-year journey. He's now leading sales and business development at AICO, working with global clients from Thailand, Singapore and Laos. Jacopo's story starts with a gap year that led him to Bangkok through AIP, where he built connection and launched a career that's taken him to Amazon, A-Club and now Agoda. We'll dive into their internship experience, how those opportunities shaped their careers, and what they're up to today. Thank you guys for coming here today. So my first question is, how did you ended up here in Thailand? Like doing an internship here now almost 10 years ago.
Well, interesting story because between my bachelor and master's degree, I decided to take a year gap. And I wanted to do it in the best way. So I didn't want to just waste time. And I thought, why not, doing an internship? But why not doing it in Asia? Asia as a broad concept. So I didn't know anything. I just came to Southeast Asia as a backpacker, the classic backpacker. But then I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. And I said, why not doing an internship? So an actual working experience. And why not doing it in Southeast Asia? And, I didn't know where to go, to be honest. So I went around Southeast Asia as a traveler, but then I found you guys from AIP. And I came to you just knowing that I wanted to do marketing. That's it. And actually, that's how you helped me out to, first of all, to select Bangkok as a destination. And then, in short time, we had an interview together. And then, you put me in contact with a company. And then I decided to join Bangkok for my internship experience with knowing that actually I was already enrolled in my master's degree in the UK. So I knew that it was a time that I had to take off, but I wanted to do a work experience. And that's why I came here to Bangkok.
That was great because it was an experience in between you finishing your bachelor and then your master. So actually the perfect thing so to kickstart and power up your master. And you, Seb, instead?
Well, in my case, it was a little bit different. My background was in finance, so I was working a lot, and then I said, okay, I'm going to take a month off. I'm going to go and visit my family. When I came here, it took just 2 weeks to fall in love with this city. I wanted a different experience, and I was like, how can I get in? I started contacting companies, but I had 2 more weeks to decide if I was staying or not. And I found AIP. In the end, it was a seamless process, and I got some interviews with a cryptocurrency company and management consultancy company. So I already had decided that I wanted Bangkok, different from Jacopo. But what I can say is that it was quick to get 2 interviews as soon as you got in contact with me. So yeah, in 2 weeks I had everything solved, and I stayed 6 more months, and then I've been here 9 years.
You're an epic customer, I would say. No, it's funny because it seems like none of us actually was expecting at all to end up in Thailand. Like
No.
even for myself, I was in India, and then I was like, okay, where I go, I want to go stay in Asia and end up in Thailand. Anyway, so what was for you like one of the stand-up moments you had during your internship here in Bangkok?
Well, for me, one of the first things was that it's such a multicultural city. It's not just because it's the first time of a person from the west coming to the east. It's people from every country in the world, and each one has a different culture. You can communicate in English, so that wasn't a problem. So in the end, over time, I started learning a little bit of Thai, but I would say that I liked the diversity that I experienced at the beginning, and that's what hooked me up.
How's your Thai right now?
Very basic, what they will call taxi Thai. I can get
Yo,
around food basics, but yeah, my job is mainly in English. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Jack?
Well, I want to actually talk about Thai as a language because I have a fun fact. I think it was the first night out that I had in Bangkok. And I didn't know any single word in Thai. And I took a taxi and I said, Sukhumvit Soi 81, but actually on Nut 81. Because Onut is the BTS station, the train station. He was bringing me outside Bangkok. So that's when I realized that I had to learn at least a few basic words. Because it is, yes, a very multicultural and English-speaking city. But at the same time, it still preserves its, uniqueness of being Bangkok in Thailand. So that's why it was fun. And now I do know how to count, and also know as you like a basic Thai, which is very important.
How to bargain too. That's very
How to
important at the
bargain.
beginning.
That's very important.
Yeah,
skill,
very
absolutely.
important.
Yes.
Like, saying the numbers to get home though is very important. Like I remember saying chat and people understanding a completely different number and being like, my Italian pronunciation is so frustrating. So well, and while you were doing your internship here, I'm sure you had many experience and you were seeing it was the thing. What were the biggest difference between doing an internship here or in general living here versus living back home, like for you?
Well, having had different experiences back home in Italy, you do have a very Italian cultural based, let's say, work environment. Whereas here, from day one, I was in a small company, but it was already a very multicultural company. So, and this really surprised me because, I didn't expect, to be working with so many people with different backgrounds, different environments, with speaking different languages. And that actually helped me out, throughout my career as well, to understand how to adapt to different cultures, environments. Whereas, working back home, you kind of work in your comfort zone because everyone, for me, for example, even if I work for, Amazon, Ecolab, these big gigantic companies, most of the time, I would say the 80% of the time, I was still working in an Italian environment. So it's talking Italian, being, feeling at home. So instead here, you need to adapt fast because, people have different backgrounds and speak different languages. So that's interesting to me.
No, actually, that's a very good point. Many of our students, when they come here, they expect to work only with Thais, or if they go to Korea, only with Koreans. But actually, you realize when you come, especially in the place we do placement and stuff, they're usually very international companies. So you work with actually people from a multitude of background, and that's also very good for your soft skills because so you learn to deal not only with Thais but with a multitude of background indeed. And for you instead, Seb, what was the biggest difference?
For me, again, it's a little bit different because when I came to Thailand, I had some working experience, but it wasn't massive. I graduated like 1 year and a half before. I had the experience of the work environment in the US a little bit, and that one is very different from Europe and even more different from Thailand. I like it because it's very hands-on. I would agree with Jacopo. In Spain is a very Spanish environment, even though I was working in a company that was, let's say, international because it had multiple offices. And then Thailand is a little bit more, let's say, you can find absolutely everything in a more laid-back environment. I think that is because of the weather. It makes it feel like a little bit more chilled or sabay, like they would say here in Thailand. But yeah, those were the main differences, and it's a key thing what you just said. In many companies, you see people from different parts of the world, and you have to get used to different cultures or accents. It's just a constant learning of different people. Yeah, that's what I like.
And during your internship and in general working here, working abroad, how do you think that impacted your skills, your mindset, being abroad in a different country?
So while I was doing my internship, I started in management consultancy. So we did management and financial consultancy, which meant that we had to visit different types of businesses, try to understand how different businesses work, so we could make them work in Thailand. Mm-hmm. So that's I would say that's one of the biggest highlight, and I can tell you a fun fact that I learned in one of those companies. So there's this company that reaches out to us and says, "Hey, we have this device that is a harness that in case of emergency you hook it on your wall."
The parachute.
It's a kind of a parachute, but you hang. I think that is very popular in Korea right now.
Yeah.
And basically, you hook it. If there's a fire, you break the window, you hook it, and then you go downstairs. And as you see here in Bangkok, there's so many condos that, some other safety measure you need to do, like the same as in Seoul. So that was a fun thing. So to wrap up the point and how my internship impacted was, I learned how to talk about various topics with people from different parts of the world, and I learned how to be more open. So yeah, I think that I've carried that.
Expect the unexpected kind of thing. Like,
because every person, every business is different.
When you're in consulting, and the after you're making parachute to escape fires.
I think that for us in Italy, we have probably like 4 floors.
Yeah,
at
you
max.
just probably just
So
jump.
you just jump and it's easier.
I think it's from the 15th floor you need for those things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and for you instead, Jack, what impacted a bit the minds and stuff?
I think that it was my first job experience. So you jump into the real first job. You don't have experience and you are just in a new country, so you need to adapt fast. And that's something that coming from an Italian university, going to Thailand to work for a digital marketing company with different people, multicultural environment, it really helped me from day one to understand how important it is to be flexible and to adapt. So it's something that I kept in mind in all my other experiences, because it sounds easy, but it's not, because especially from a young person that ends up its bachelor's degree and has to actually start working, you need to adapt, and that's something that you have to do in every job normally. I guess you agree with me on that. And that's something that a skill that you don't acquire by studying. For example, as an intern, I think the first thing that you have to do is learn how to adapt. That's something that you don't have in university.
Actually, sorry to cut you out, but the adapting on the part on the adapting, actually, I wanted to ask a thing. Like, I was actually adapting to a new culture. Like, I mean, we all come from Europe, more or less, Seb, half South America, half Europe, but like, we come from completely different culture. I was actually adapting to the Thai culture, but working and in general, like for you guys.
It's cool because especially Thai culture is very sabay, which it's something that in my concept of life matters, for example. So
I think it's very similar to the Italian one.
It's similar to the Italian, so that's actually not that different, but yeah.
For me, I would say that when you're here and you already put yourself in this sort of uncomfortable situation, that is like you are going to another country where you need to get adapted to many things, is ask a lot of questions. And the good thing is that you will come from the West. People here are super hospitable. They really want you to learn of their culture. They bring you, like, they know that I've worked for 9 years in Thailand, but they still keep bringing me snacks, like say, hey Seb, try this one, try that one, this one comes from the north, this one comes from the south, or this is a new dessert, or have you tried that? Oh, you traveled there, did you try this? So in the end, as long as you talk to people and show interest in their culture, they will be super happy in being open with you.
And also that's why a lot of foreigners, when they come to Thailand, they get fat. But anyway,
I have to control myself.
Absolutely, I feel you. Also those boba tea and things, like really.
No, but I think the welcoming feeling that you have here is very important. And as you were saying, the fact that you've been here for 9 years, living here for 9 years, and they still make you try the new snack, is because they want you to feel good. They want to involve you in their culture, which is something that I think it's very nice. It's a nice feeling as an expat.
It goes
absolutely.
It goes beyond the snacks. It's like, next Wednesday we have a holiday, and you're like, oh, what is that holiday? Oh, this holiday is a Buddhist holiday, and it represents this and that. Then, oh, what is this? And then you're like, what is Loy Krathon? And they are like, oh, that's the Lantern Festival, let's say, the Valentine's in Thailand. And you're like, oh, well, that's in September. Valentine's for us is the 14th of February. So in the end, I think that, constantly everything that happens, it's Chinese New Year, Thai New Year, Buddhist holidays, different traditions. Yeah.
And by the way, how many holidays there are here? Like public holidays? Yeah. This is a question. Do you know it?
I think it's around 24 to 27, something like that.
I think that the number is like 21, but you can only have... You can, at least us, we get 17, but it's still pretty much more than many other countries, so it's good.
Yeah, I know that, especially the period of April with Songkran and everything.
Can you name all of them?
No, zero. Like, I'm still trying to remember the various Buddhist holidays. Every time it's like, oh yeah, let's hang out tomorrow. No, today they don't serve alcohol. Yeah. That's how we discover usually that there is a holiday.
That's true.
And a lot of things also when you're here, like happens a lot of unexpected things. So actually on that I wanted to ask you something. What is something unexpected that you learn during your internship experience here, during your living here, that you wouldn't have expected at all to have when you first come here?
Well, I said before, it opened my mind to talk to many people. but one of the other things is one of my colleagues happened to be very close to the group of friends that I made later, which I want to connect with work. Is that here it's since there's foreigners and there's community of foreigners, you can make connections. Here it's very important to do networking. In the end, many of the people that you're meeting can be people that help you for work, can find you someone that might be looking for a job, a friend that you know, and eventually you can find people like, I would say you guys, you're very good friends, and I would say that when you're alone in a foreign country, your friends become your family. So that's very, like, I never thought that it was gonna be like that in general. Yeah,
and that's absolutely true. Even like when with our customer when they come here, well, as you probably experienced at the beginning, one of the first thing we try to do is to build to help the students build his own network, right? Because you go abroad, your family is 9,000 kilometers away, your friend are on a different time zone, is a disaster. So the first thing is usually try to build some form of network, because then if you're gonna stay abroad, or even for the time you're gonna spend abroad, it's gonna help you a lot going forward with your thing. And for you instead, Jack, what was something unexpected?
To be fair, like we're still friends because of this.
Yeah,
you know,
correct.
we met 9 years ago in and you know in networking events that you were inviting us to, and you are still here talking.
Well, Sebastian randomly in a beer garden. You at one of our events.
I think probably. Yeah. We did so many events that I don't even remember. Yeah. But coming back to your questions of something unexpected, I want to maybe talk about more of something that happened during my internship here, which is quite funny, I would say, and unexpected for sure. Is that we were going, me and a Thai colleague, account manager, to a meeting with a client, a potential client. You know, I was just supporting him because I was an intern, of course. You know, I had to learn how to, do more customer-facing roles. And then it happened that the meeting was all in Thai. And so I didn't understand anything, of course. And this was something unexpected, but also something that I learned, that made me learn to always understand what to expect. So make questions, understand, what the meeting is going to be about. Make sure in this case, that the meeting is going to be in English. You never know. You're working in Thailand, you're working wherever you're working, if it's a different country, maybe, the meeting is not in your language or in English. So that was something unexpected that happened to me.
But I would add on that topic is that, I know what you mean. In the end, I don't speak fluent Thai. I still have to be in meetings that are held in Thai, which is normal. We're in Thailand. Later on, your team will brief you. But one of the first things that I learned when I was coming here to meetings where I thought that I wasn't adding much value, but I learned different protocols. In every country, there's different protocols when you meet someone, how you grab the cards, how other people act, the ways that they start a meeting. I think that sometimes in the West we go straight, let's go to this, and that. Here it's a little bit of a small talk, and there's even more small talk if you're a foreigner and the other person is a foreigner, because they're like, if you don't know them, how long have you been here, maybe where do you live, neighborhoods and stuff like that. So in the end, I would say that even if you are in a meeting that you don't understand the language, you can learn so much of what's happening in the environment. Don't worry, you finish the meeting, your colleagues will brief you, and then you will for sure add to that project. So it's logical that people want to talk in their language to not miss details.
Correct.
Plus, actually, if you stay here enough, in the long term, it helps you with some context, the meeting in Thai, probably maybe even your Thai, or in general, the local language, your proficiency improves. I mean, I'm very far from being fluent as well, but for example, I noticed that in the years, actually attending meeting, networking events and things in Thai, little by little I started to kind of pick it up passively. Then I can still not say much beyond going on a taxi, but at least something you get it more.
Understand the concept, the context.
You know what they're talking about.
Yeah, at least that. And anyway, I wanted to jump instead now to ask you a little bit, kind of like put the spotlights on you guys and your experience now, because you both, actually I could say we all started with an internship, and then we all had different careers and different things. So starting with you, Sebastian, so you started with an intern with AIP, and then from there you actually remain here in Thailand until now. Can you give me a little bit what happened in your life there and where you are now?
So it's been quite a ride. So at the beginning, the first thing was finding the internship. A lot of pressure. I took an internship of 6 months that were more than enough to decide that I wanted to stay in Thailand. So my first job was in a management consultancy firm where I started learning of the different clients that one of them I mentioned earlier. I stayed there for a little bit until in small talk and chats that you have with your friends, you start expressing that you would like to stay in Thailand, and you tell them, hey, how can I stay longer, because then it's a work permit, which company can hire you. And good enough, one of my of the people that I was working with said, hey, but why don't we do something together? And I think that we have the knowledge, or we have the want to do something of us. We formed a little management consultancy firm, but a little bit later on, I realized that I wanted to have a different type of job. It opened my mind talking to many people, but I didn't necessarily want to stay for too long in the same place. Let's say that I could have got a little bit bored. I was almost decided to go back to Spain, and suddenly, again, network. Someone said, hey, there's this company that is looking for someone. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, of course. I sent the CV. It was of a company that at the beginning I didn't actually nail what they were doing. I went to the company, I did all the research, but I didn't know that translation was called localization. Okay, I was, I don't know, 24 years old. I didn't know some certain terminology. I didn't have a bad interview. I got the job, and suddenly I see myself in a world that I completely didn't know. So going from checks and balances to trying to understand how the translation world works. That is a world that no one understands, or very few people understands. People plays a movie in Netflix and thinks that the subtitles or the dub just comes there and happens by a miracle. Or they're playing their favorite video game and suddenly it's in Spanish. Well, it's because there's a lot of work behind, a lot of processes. So once I started as business analyst, I started checking how different parts of the company worked. I definitely, you could see that there was interest in me, and little by little I started gaining a little more responsibility. First I got a account manager overseeing certain things, like putting my feet firm on the ground to be able to talk to clients and manage the accounts. And that's something that I started enjoying. At the beginning I had to go a lot to India to visit e-learning clients, which again, that just made me even more interested in the job because, hey, I've never been in India, and now I need to start.
There was a traveling component also.
Yeah, there was a traveling component. Then, and later on, it became even more because once I already had some knowledge or knowledge in e-learning, then I wanted to do something with multimedia. So suddenly you are in the TV shows, not shows, but exhibitions that players in the world go there to put their movies, their content, and what we wanted is to do the dubbing and the translation of the subtitles. So then the next part was by then I was already a unit manager, so I was managing certain units there, and time, work, ups and downs. Now I manage all the sales of the company. I have the title of VP of Business Development. So there's no moment that I've got bored of everything that we're doing, because if one day we're doing a dub for a video game, another day we're doing subtitles for a TV show that will be in TV tomorrow, or let's say that you're doing e-learning courses for people that are in Mexico, and you're like, hey, how come are you doing them in Thailand? And in all this period of time, another fun fact is that, well, I learned how to do dubbing and voiceover in the office. I have Latin American accent. And yeah, I've recorded a couple of things. So in the end, yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. I learned from all the things that you can translate to also me not being afraid of being in front of a microphone. Because at the beginning, I guess that it has happened to many of you guys. When you hear yourself, you say like, I don't want to be here.
I hate my voice.
I want to mute it, okay? But later on, you realize that actually, hey, that's how you sound. So you need to like it. That's how your friends will listen to you. So
I
in the
still
end,
like
they
mine.
haven't complained. So I guess that
I'm afraid when this
it's
comes
not
out.
that bad.
Well,
But yeah.
from intern to VP of Business Development, and can you tell us the name of your company?
Yeah, my company is called Eco Globalization, and yeah, there's a couple of companies under that umbrella. Games, voiceover, social media.
Well,
Yeah.
So if you need someone for your localization, guys.
He's the guy.
And instead, UJack is different as because we remain here the whole time at the end. Okay, Seb also very from mine. I just went in AIP and focused on that. Seb changed a little bit, experienced a lot of things. You instead, you did your internship and then actually you went back because you had a master in UK, right? And what happened after?
Mine has been a journey to enlightenment. No,
Wait,
Come
that's
back,
another
yeah.
video. No, sorry.
no, in the sense that I've never really understood what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's deep.
So I've jumped into different careers, I would say. Not different career, but different positions in different companies. So instead of like Seb, growing in the same company, finding the right path. For me, it's been jumping around different companies, mostly multinational companies. So after I had my first job experience here, internship in digital marketing, I went to the
You're
UK.
not in finance. I took it from the
I'm a
outside.
finance bro. Just by now. I went to the UK to study my master's in marketing, and I did start my career in marketing for Ecolab, so big multinational company in the chemical industry. So very interesting. And then after a couple of years, I realized that maybe the chemical industry was not meant for me, and maybe marketing was not actually what I wanted to do. I really enjoyed the client-facing part, so that's why I moved to a startup, a unicorn in Italy. It's called Satispay in the fintech industry. So very different from the chemical industry, a bit more dynamic, I would say.
Slightly, I would say.
Slightly more dynamic. And I started doing business development. So it's a set of skills that I wanted to develop. So, I mean, how difficult it is to do business development because it's something that, again, you don't learn at school, but you learn on the ground, practicing. So I liked it because, it did give me this set of skills that I wanted to have in doing business development. But after that, I stayed in the tech industry, but I had the Amazon call. So obviously such a huge company. It was more also jumping from a proper business developing and sales role to a key account manager role. So this is what I wanted to do. Developing my path. I joined Amazon as a key account manager. And here I actually, learned a new set of skills that I wanted to acquire. And it was a good experience. But then again, why am I here? On the back of my head, I always had the need to come back at some point. And I think that having been in Italy for all those years, at some point I had to understand what to do. Either continue in Amazon or to change and go back to Asia. It was not an easy decision because, of course, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your friends. You're
The
leaving
career also there. Really.
the career there, and you have to completely remake yourself far from home. But then, I stayed in the tech industry, and I joined Agoda as a manager of strategic partnerships. And I think it did make sense, and I'm happy because I could continue my path, which sounds a bit jumpy, but actually now that after all this year, it kind of makes sense. So
Your journey.
the enlightenment has come, yeah. But I'm here, now I'm joining Agoda, and in this current position. So
It's funny because we all started with, like, me personally did an internship in India in IT, you did yours in consulting, you in marketing, and then that was what we studied, right? And then we all end up doing something completely different. It's a very nice journey to enlightenment, as Jack would put it.
I thought that I was gonna end up in I don't know, finance, a bank, or just in management consultancy because of the stereotypes that are generated. Like, hey, you should go to a bank or a management consultancy. There you can do this and that. And I'm like, well, coming here, like what you said, that like adapting and all of the topics that we've discussed made me realize that maybe the areas where you think that are not for you are actually somewhere where you can find some
But that's the
interest.
point. Sorry, but that's the point also of the internship, right? Because it's not that you go just necessarily because you want to, I don't know, only refine the skills that you got from the university, but sometimes even just to see if actually you like that before committing in a full-time job and maybe 2-3 years of your career that you would then throw out of the window if then you discover that you wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what many times even we say to our customer, like, you do an internship, is for sure you want to refine the skill you pick up at the university, but it's also to kind of like do an alpha or a beta of what's gonna be your future career, and if you really want to jump into that, or like we all did at the end, start to do something or completely different or parallel to that or something.
I think that you always learn from this. You know, for example, as you were saying, I did my internship here in digital marketing, which is something that I enjoyed, but then I understood that it was not my path. You know, so as you were saying, you're not you're doing it for a purpose. Maybe it's your path, maybe it's not, but you still learn from that. So that's how it helped me to understand.
Experience.
It's an experience, exactly. Yeah.
And as we said also in a video that I don't know if by the time you see these, it has already come out, even bad experience is a good experience. So
You see,
doing advertisement for my future
I think
content.
that no one has a perfect day every day. So it's what you're saying. Like I would say that in all these 9 years, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, literally, because you're like, that's what I want to achieve. I need to work this way. I want to. Definitely, some days you want to be with your family or your friends. You want to be celebrating the birthday of your brother, or you would like to see your family more often. But I think that in the end, constant putting yourself constantly in positions that make you a little bit uncomfortable, make you learn what you were saying. Like, it's not. I wouldn't consider it bad. That specific experience, you won't commit to that mistake in the next time. You will do something different, or you will already know what to expect. So that's basically what I
Well, in this case, it's definitely more uncomfortable experience as you're putting it. Actually, you, Jack, would like to add anything on this, like on the uncomfortable experience or bad experience while during this experience?
Well, I think that based on my experience, and it's a suggestion that I give to, maybe young students that want to do an internship, but not just that, people that are afraid to take a decision. It's don't be afraid, because at the end you are going to learn from that, even if it's a bad experience. So as you were saying in your next video or previous, I don't know,
Don't know yet.
if you take a path, go for it. It's don't look back. Then it can be positive, negative, you don't know, but it's you're gonna gain something from that for sure. And that's why I'm here. So for example, I took a decision to leave everything, as Seb did and you did as well, but we were happy with our lives because it was not an easy decision, but we were not afraid to take it. And I think it's what I learned. I think you can relate to
You
that.
jump, take next step.
Yeah, and I have the feeling that some of the friends that I really love from high school or university, they're a little bit. Some of them are stagnant. They haven't moved so much, and I think that that's coming back to the differences between being here and being there. Just the fact of being a foreigner here doesn't let you be in the same place all the time. So you're constantly changing a little bit, and then there's always moments where you could say, hey, Christmas, for me, when I go back to Europe, I value 100 times more when I visit my family and my friends. Because here, when you're there, like you know that your mom or your dad are a mile away, and not even that close, people will go and see their parents or their cousins or their friends. But here, I've managed to create a way where I could go and see my family, my friends. There's more excitement. You plan certain things. You try to do different and new things. Not just like, I don't know. I was feeling that when I was living in Madrid, eventually I wasn't finding new things that I wanted to do, and that's because you're already comfortable, because you're in your place. Everything is already a little bit settled. You just need to do this and do that.
Would you say that this experience, other than of course for your career, actually really changed you as a person? Like if you remain in your country, you will have instead when you go abroad, you change a lot.
Definitely, I think that I changed in a way where I've been much more open. in general. Before I was more of an introvert. Now I'm more talkative, a little bit more of an extrovert, and it changed my life in how I deal with specific people, specifically because here in Thailand or in Asia, there's ways that you need to deal with Asian people, work-wise, restaurant-wise, family or friends. In Europe, you already know. In France, in Italy, what's the difference between Italy and Spain? That you start the kids from a different side, and not that much more. But here is like, okay, what's the protocol of meeting the parents of your friend? What's the protocol of, hey, when you're just dating for the first time a person in Asia, or work-wise, as I said before, the different protocols. Yeah, that for me is what I would say.
Do you, Jack, wanted to add anything on this?
I think that coming back to your question, the fact of having left my country when I was young really opened up my mind, and I feel what Sebastian says, that even not just my friends, but even myself, I feel that if I stayed back home, maybe I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't be this open-minded, I wouldn't be this flexible, I wouldn't have had so many experiences. So I'm grateful that, I took that decision, because it brought me here. Otherwise, you never know. And
yeah, I would say it's like a snowball effect. You get even kind of addicted to that, right? Because you make one new experience, you want to do another one, and then another one, and another one, and then, like, at least for me, when I go back, I feel like time kind of didn't really pass. I know that a lot of things change even there, but I feel like time there didn't pass, and I'm kind of like on a different rhythm. I want to keep exploring, keep doing new things, and kind of like it becomes boring, like when you go back, monotonous. And like you were saying, I love, for example, when I go back, I see my friends, my family. Absolutely, actually, something I look forward for that time once a year or twice a year that I go back. But then I need to go out again of there, because I need to keep going and keep building my life and doing my things. And anyway,
he was doing the same, but the opposite.
Yeah, right.
So he was coming to visit us once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And I was going to visit you.
Yeah.
He was trying
to adapt.
Yeah, we had to adapt.
He was trying to escape, but was keep being dragged back.
And I was trying to drag you with me.
Anyway, I think we actually gave a lot of nice advice and point of interest for people watching, but I wanted to ask you a specific advice you would give, especially, I work with internships, so with students that are looking to do this kind of experience, an internship abroad for the first time, they maybe never left, and such. What advice would you give specifically to them? We already said, like, doing the first step and something. What else would you?
I think I come back to the point that I told you earlier. You're young, don't be afraid. I mean, it's never a one-side decision. It could be a two-sided decision. You can take this decision, enjoy it, or you can take the decision, you don't enjoy it, you get back. So in any case, you learn from that. So
it's temporary.
It's temporary. It brings you somewhere. It either makes you understand that you really like it, or it makes you understand what you don't like. So you always gain from that. So my advice is, don't be afraid, just do it, and you will learn from that for sure, and it will change you definitely.
I would say the same as before, like just don't be afraid of putting yourself in the uncomfortable position, because there's you talking to people, just being a little bit more open, you can make a good group of friends. Not just that, but you go to the office in the company where you're gonna be, and the people are gonna be very welcoming. You're like the new guy. They want you to have the great experience. Whenever you go to another country, it rarely happens that you don't have a good experience. Like like when I've been in other countries in Asia, there's always a person that wants me to have a better experience in their country. And yeah, I could have many of these examples. But I wanted to say, like, the main thing as before, like, if you put yourself a little bit uncomfortable, I have an experience with a guy that was working with me. I remember that he's a Spanish guy that was like 8-10 years older than me. So that means that he was my age. He already had 10 years of experience, and he decided to do another internship because he wanted to learn something new. So he decided that at 35, that it's when you should not take too many risks. He took the risk. He had a great experience. Now he lives. He moved to Australia, and he's living happily there with his partner. And I wouldn't say that an internship has an age. he was in the oil industry before, but he wanted management consultancy. He did that, and now he's working in something that is related to consultancy. And he did the change at 35. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I would say get out of your comfort zone, as we say.
Yeah.
Take that step and do it as soon as possible. Because the earlier you're doing it, the more you discover if it's for you, first of all. And probably, like, the benefit will always outweigh the negative in this case. Like, hardly if you open up to the world is going to punch you down. It's more likely that actually you're going to grow with it.
Yeah.
With a positive mindset, just go to another place, and then you'll find that there's people that will care about you.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you guys.
The other one wasn't the last one.
No.
Okay, this is the bonus
There's a
one.
bonus question.
Tricky.
Okay.
Is there anything you would have done differently?
Differently. That's a difficult question, because at the beginning I was living my life very intensely. Like we were working, and then we were hanging out with friends.
Yeah, I used to be there.
So in the end, I wouldn't say that I would just maybe have extended that a little bit more, because what you said, you come here for an internship, people want you to see their culture, see everything. So it's like, you're an intern, you don't have 100% responsibilities. You're there to learn. You're there to be able to commit mistakes. So it's the moment. Yeah, that's what I would say.
For you, Jack?
For me, probably I would have tried earlier to come back here. Maybe, you know, with because as I said earlier, I had it on the back of my head. But then I started my career in different companies, so you get busy, and you know, it's hard to move here. So you know, you need to take a big decision, and you need to go for it. And maybe what I would do differently before, maybe it's to do it earlier. You know, but at the same time, I'm still happy with this decision that I took now. So it brought me here in a different level, but it could have been for Sebastian, and you know, you go into join a company here, and then you step up again. You know, it's never a one-side decision, it's two-sided. You know, you can always adapt, as you know, your friend who did an internship in 35. But if you ask me this question, probably this is my answer. You know, I
tried to convince him to not do the masters, and he could stay. Maybe he would have stayed here 9 years.
But I was already enrolled, so sorry.
Actually, to be honest, I think he might have done the right thing. I mean, for me, for example, I'm very happy with where I am and the thing I'm doing. But if I could, I would have liked to maybe do a couple more of experience before getting into AIP, especially because maybe some problems they had, for example, before COVID, that maybe some stuff, you know, I was no experience in building a business, then you build one and you're doing things randomly, right? Okay, if I would have done maybe a couple more experience, I would have done a bit less errors, but I mean, at the end, trial and error went through. We're here, so.
Yeah, but those were your bad experiences. Now you don't then commit the mistake, and then that's where you are. So.
But I would say, like, if I had to change something, maybe I would have tried, like, before, if I could, right? Before going into AIP, I would do like maybe 2-3 experience more, so that then I can bring that knowledge right into the work that I did. So maybe instead of taking 9 years to be where I'm now, I would have taken 3. But you know, with it's harder to make history.
Exactly.
But, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for coming today, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Danny.
Sure. Most likely tomorrow or something.
Yeah, like
day after tomorrow.
At the bar after
or
this.
the bar later. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you.
Cool.